Alright guys, we'll maybe start. I'm just going to introduce our next guest speaker, Steve Vernon. Steve is head coach at Team New Balance Manchester and coached the 2018 European 4th place Ciara Mageean. Steve first represented Great Britain himself as an athlete in 1999 as an 18-year-old. And as we've a growing number of young coaches in Northern Ireland, particularly with our apprenticeship schemes, we've asked Steve to share his experiences discussing his personal transition from athlete to coach, his coaching journey and philosophy. And as a young coach myself, I know I'll be particularly interested to hear how Steve has built and maintained relationships with his athletes, gained respect and individualised his approach with each athlete. So welcome to Steve.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you to Jackie for inviting me. For those of you who don't know me, I am coach to Ciara Mageean, although she didn't come in the room now and watch my presentation, so I don't know what that means. It may be over at the end of today, but she's not here. Ciara will be doing the physiological testing later. But when Jackie asked me to do this, it's really interesting because I've not actually ever been asked to talk about this, and it has been what seems like a very quick transition, but when I actually put the presentation together, it's taken a long time for me to become the coach I am now, even though I only retired 4 years ago and retired from running in my own competitive running. So it's been a really interesting presentation to put together, so hopefully you find it interesting. If there is any burning questions, don't hesitate to put your hand up as we go through. I'd rather that than waiting for the end and then we're running out of time. So feel free to ask questions. And then the relief to me when I see a coach like Fuzz that's taken people to Olympic medals, when he's actually saying the same things that I'm about to say, that's relief, because if not, you'd have seen me changing my presentation while I was having my lunch, but I've not needed to do that, so that's good. So, 1987, the start. That wasn't when I was born, it was 1980, but that's when I first started as what I call an athlete, and you can tell how long 1987 is ago, because that's the best quality photograph I could find of myself. That's me, the eager one. I think you could tell I was competitive and wanted to win straight from then. But that's when I started, and I started through primary school's athletics as a runner, and we had a brilliant, in Stockport, South Manchester where I'm from, we had a really good schools cross-country events and community. And that's what, I did that with the school, but I wasn't actually a member of a running club until many years later when I started high school, really. So I did run at primary school along with a lot of other sports, which, again, to reiterate what Jackie said earlier, I think that was absolutely fundamental to my development as an athlete, because I played football, hockey, I wanted to be on every team in my first year at high school, and I just loved sport. Now, a key influence to me then was my first coach, and my only coach, Dave Turnbull. He was a runner at the club then, and he decided, he was the same age as I am now, and he decided that his son, he's the guy in yellow in that picture, there was no real coaching structure at the club for that sort of age group, and he decided to come in there and start coaching. And he learned as we developed. He had his own idea. I think he now knows that he did a lot of things wrong at the beginning. He really did. He looks back and we laugh at the mistakes he made and the trial and error. But I think one thing that was reiterating and really hits home with me, that I had fun. I had a brilliant time. I didn't know what he was doing was wrong half the time. And sometimes he had a busy job, he didn't plan often. And I remember one day we turned up and he looked back at maths, but we just did an assault course because he found some rope and he found a netting, and we did something like the Krypton Factor, and I was 12, 13, I thought it was the best thing in the world. But when I look at what we were balancing along and the jumping, and it really was this holistic development. So he was key to my development as an athlete, but he learned a lot through the British Milers Club at that time, who were providing a lot of coach education. Frank Horwell was at the helm of it. And when I look back at what it was, there was a lot of development based on Peter Coe and Seb Coe, and speed and lower mileage. And actually, his philosophy has changed and my philosophy has changed since that. I'm not saying the British Milers Club were wrong, but the message that was out there, and actually the standard of running as we went into the 90s in the UK was poor. Whether, there's influences of what happened with coaching and other things, but I think he learned a lot through the British Milers Club, which really helped his development, but also his philosophy has changed since then. Another thing to hit from that early start was the group ethos, the fun and enjoyment, and then I put at the end girls. And as a teenager, he started coaching girls, and there was a lot of girls in the group, and that's what kept me committed to those wet winter nights and everything else. And you know, so there was other motivating factors there. So skip forward now to 2002 and the transition. And during that time, I would have been 21 then, and during that time, I just wanted to be, I went to university, I went to college, and I wanted to be the best athlete I could be. And I had a lot of early success. I was second in the English Schools Championships as a 15-year-old, and I ran for England that year, and you know, I was one of those athletes that was very talented, fairly young, and developed quite quickly, which I was lucky for. But I went to Loughborough University because that was the place to go, and all I wanted to do was live, breathe running. And I did an exercise physiology degree at Loughborough, and that was from 1999 to 2002. And I think I look back at this, and 2002 really sparked my real interest, because I was what I call a student of sport. I loved running, and not just my own running, but I was a fan of it. I'd watch the old videos, I'd talk to people. I was interested in how other people achieve success. But in 2002, I went to America to the NCAA.